Now I'd like to turn to Brian Chimney for the ITLA bill. Brian, welcome back.
Okay, so past few weeks, Nick is with us this evening as well. So hey, Nick, welcome back. So I'm just going to quickly kind of do a summary of the last few weeks. I've kind of put together a bit of a slide presentation, so some of the pictures and whatever will be easier to see, and then just touch on the last few things. So this is our first, we had the kit. We did the spraying of surfaces, basically using rattle can for a lot of stuff. I also did demonstrate a different technique with the dry brushing. So, but I still had done the gray background spray just to help seal the wood a little bit and get a nice even surface. From there, way the kits are designed is that a lot of the work can be done while they are still in the sprues and can be laid flat. On the right there, you'll see some of the paints that I typically use. Now, I'm showing some of the products I use. I am by no means trying to push any product in any particular way, but these are kind of the ones that I use, and a lot of them are fairly readily accessible. So we did kind of illustrate or demonstrate the kind of the spray can technique for the red brick, and I also did go through a lot of conversation on kind of a dry brushing with a yellow brick surface. I typically like to use these paints, Hunterline stains, and the rattle cans. So continuing on, I was able to do a lot of the work while the walls are flat and everything, even attaching a lot of the detail work. As you can see in the upper middle, the windows slide right into the holes. Then the kind of sills and headers also do the same. Same with doors. As you can see, some of the detail pieces I had actually put all together. Now, on the right, I did not actually physically attach the ladder at first because it's so delicate, but I did mock it up. So where do I want these things before I go to final assembly? Dealing with decals, paper decals are included with the kit. So basically, if you want them to look worn, you can gently sand them on the front. Typically on the back side, what I'll do is I will take these, I will kind of mark out where it is, and then I will just gently sand that back until I get it as thin as I can without it becoming torn. It gets almost a transparent. Then I basically just use a glue stick and then I almost burnish it on. Now, where I put it, there's not a lot of detail, but if there was brick, if it was being onto a brick surface, by burnishing it, it will start bringing some of that detail through. For the assembly, couple things here. Typically, it's kind of a recommendation that you build the two opposing corners, get those perfectly square and everything. And then for the final assembly, you take those two and put them together. Now, with those corners, if you're lacking a lot of kind of neat clamps and so forth, if you have the roof panel will help you with keeping the building square, as I've shown the middle left. And then I generally use the yellow carpenter's glue, but weld bond or whatever, very thin on the interior edges. Then I use the elastics, gently put them in place and let it sit and dry. On the right, it shows the kind of the roof blocking. Now I do it vertically because it helps to reinforce the corner in my mind, but I can also set it at the heights I want to. But as conversation in the last one, and I think Nick's way of doing it would be is to actually do them horizontally, but totally up to you. Both will work. So on to kind of the last stages. What I'm showing here is just different products that I use in order for doing the final weathering and so forth. I love the pan pastels. Not everybody does. Weathering chalks. I even use watercolor pencils and the Hunter line stains. There's also in the foreground of that, there are chalk sticks, which you can sand down, and that gives you a powder as well, just like if you don't have the weathering powders. Also the Vallejo washes. And then right at the front, I have two brushes, which are, one's a fiberglass and the other one's a brass brush, and they're great for helping distress. So if you're doing more of a wood style kit, I've used those to quite an effect. Yes, you can use things like a razor saw and everything, but these I find can kind of get me into certain places a little bit better. So when the kit's finally put together, all the corner pieces are on, there's an overlap on those corner pieces. So generally speaking, if you can fill them, sand them, paint them. If you still see stuff, sand it again, fill it a little bit more if needed, repaint it until you kind of come up with a kind of a happy look on that corner. The flashing, I like to paint that with kind of a black and then a bit of the color that I'm using in the trim, so that it gets that kind of faded, weathered look all on its own. And then as you can see on the right side, I'll go back with the chalks or the pastels and that, and I'll just start working in some of the details for kind of some rust effects, some dirt effects, and so forth into those walls. So same obviously kit. One's just painted, the other one is more the weathered final. So going to the opposing sides, basically with some of the rust on that rebar, I did that before I put the whole thing together, but with some final touches and that I've accentuated that up a bit more. With the chimney at the top, I toned that down, you know, soot and so forth. And then same with the coal door at the bottom. So again, it's just a matter of kind of playing with those until you get kind of the effect. With the stucco itself, the final, I had painted it. I did not do like a perfect job on painting those, meaning that it's like pristine looking wall. I left it where sometimes you saw a little bit of other color kind of popping through, just because it will help I find when doing the final weathering to accentuate that kind of aged and different variations of color. The top roof, I paint that, and then I go along the lines for the seams of the tar, and I'll just hit it almost with a straight black in places because they're never clean. And then just a lot of kind of dirty weathering, so to speak, to kind of tone a lot of that down. Also you'll notice on the chimney and the roof vents, I'll take the tar and go right up the edges of those because you're going to have to seal around those. They will have flashings, but roofs I've seen anyway up close, a lot of that is pretty messy where they tar the crap around it. So